All right, guys, 6 new income producing properties at the South Florida market today. Let's check them out and see which ones are the winners and which ones would you just would just lose you money. All right, that being said, take a quick look at the market watch, right? Same amount of houses hitting the market again as houses seeing a price decrease, right? A little bit more, like about 100 more houses seeing a price decrease, but it's basically the same. And that's the way that it's been for, man, a while now. Okay. What has dropped actually is just the amount of price decreases. It's not as many price decreases as we used to see in the past. It was straight up like 10% more. And this is maybe like 5% more. So it's still not like the worst, but it's basically telling you that if you whatever you see right now in terms of price, there's a really good chance that you're going to be able to bring that price down, right? Because for every house that's hitting the market, another one is having a price decrease. Okay, that's just the way that the whole market looks. And this is for Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. So without further ado, let's get into the house analysis and see what's out there that's going to make us money. Okay, first things first, I'd like to organize these by price per square foot, and it looks pretty good today, guys. All right, three above $400 per square foot, and three below $400 per square foot. Okay, and these two look like they're probably the same property down here, right? The $374 per square foot. They're both fourplexes in Broward County. So they're either, let's see. Okay, let's see. So they're probably side-by-side duplexes, and they're just trying to sell them together at the same time. So they probably have the same returns. So we'll just do that once. So it's really 5 properties that we're going to be looking at today. All right, with that being said, let's look at the first one. $790,000 is what they want for this duplex in Miami-Dade. They're currently paying $6,761 a year in taxes. You would pay more, guys. If you buy it at $800,000, you would pay more in taxes. Square feet wise, okay, this it's not even that big, 1,627, okay? But they are saying that they are collecting $4,500 a month in rent. Now that's a little bit too much there. Let's do that. And guys, if you do the 1% rule, right, at $4,500, that's not even 0.6% of the 1% rule of the purchase price, right? We want that this rent is at least 1% of this purchase price. And right now it's 0.57% of the purchase price, okay? So not looking good there, right? And that's just a rough indicator, all right? Now that being said, if these are the actual rents, it wouldn't even pay your mortgage, okay? It couldn't even pay for the mortgage. And that's even if you put down 25% down payment for an investor loan, okay? So it's not looking good, guys, okay? Now, flood zone AH means that you're gonna pay a little bit more in premium for flood insurance, so you also gotta consider that. Let's look at the pictures here. The property does look really pretty. I mean, that looks like even like it's real grass. It doesn't look like artificial turf. That kind of does look artificial, but that's definitely artificial. And it's got this old school Miami vibe to it. Like if you just bought this house like in the, I don't know, the 60s and you moved into it, it looks like out of like a video game. It's really cute. It's really nice. But if the rents just don't make sense, they don't make sense. Let's look at the guts of this and see if we could figure something else out that would actually make this property profitable. Okay. It says, step into this cash cow. 2 properties on 1 folio. The main house is 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, plus a den. And the detached home is a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom with a kitchenette. Both properties have central AC and separate meters. So is it really a single family home or is it a real duplex? Let's see, guys. What do you guys think? Well, it's its own multifamily, okay? And yeah, 2 separate structures with 1 bedroom with 1 unit each, okay? A 2-1 and a 1-1. Okay, and they're up to date with their taxes, so they're not in distress. But they say again that it's a 2-1 with a den. So like, let's say it's a 2-2. And what's the maximum that you think in rents you could get in Miami-Dade for a 2-2? Okay, Miami-Dade, it does look really pretty. So I want to say like it's going to get more than $2,300. It might be able to get up to like, I would say like, let's say it's really, really, really nice. Let's say $2,800 for that 2-2 or 2-1 with a den. And then it has a 1-1. And then the 1-1, let's say it looks as nice as this other one. Let's say you get $1,750. Okay. Now you're collecting $4,550, right? Which is basically what they're saying that they're getting in rent. So the rents check out, guys. I think that the rents check out. And so let's see. This is a $790,000 duplex in Miami-Dade. As is rents, they say it's 4,500. But that would mean that the returns, guys, the returns for this property would only be a 7.5%. Okay, and that's pretty freaking terrible, you know. Now, what's the best rents that you could get? I think it's the 4,550 that we just said, right? They said 4,500. We're saying that the best rents possibly here are probably gonna be 4,550. It's not. It doesn't look like it's in distress. Now, what's a possible price drop for this? Since it's so unprofitable, right? I think it's reasonable to say that like this guy should bring down his price at least 10%, which is basically $80,000. Bringing this price down $80,000 brings the price down to 710,000, right? And that's 80K. But even at that, guys, at that point, it could start paying off your mortgage. Okay, it pays 107% of the mortgage, but still, it's not enough where you could actually cash flow. Because, guys, you got to put money aside for repairs, long-term expenditures such as roof replacements, and you got to put money aside for vacancies, right? So again, it doesn't pass the 1% rule at this point. You know, with the extra $50, you know, you're only making 0.64% of the purchase price. And again, we're looking for, you know, close to 1. So we're pretty far away. And man, if we reduce the price, the best return that this property is going to achieve is an 8.6% return on investment. And that's just not what we want. So we're going to go ahead and discard this property. Okay, next up, we have a, let's see, come back up here. Okay, guys, next up, basically just put a 1 in front of the number, right? $1.798 million. So $1.8 million, right? And this is a duplex in Miami-Dade. All right, let's see. Let's put that on the calculator, 1.7. 798. Okay, and he's paying in taxes $7,961 a year in taxes. Square feet, 3,007 square feet. So it's a pretty big property. Okay, but he says that he's only collecting $5,500 a month in rent. And guys, you don't have to be geniuses to know that that's the percentage. $5,500 out of $1.8 million is 0.31%. Again, we're looking to get as close to 1% of the purchase price as possible in the monthly rents collected. And so that does not help. Now, it is nice to see that it's flood zone X because it's the best kind of flood zone you could be in, but it's not ideal, right? So let's take a look at the pictures and see what we could glean off of this. Okay, so the property does look nice, right? Looks pretty nice here. Yeah, it's gorgeous. You know, you would live here, right? Pretty property, tons of space in the garage, like for shoes and stuff. It's got this nice little balcony outside. I mean, yeah, you know, nice washer dryers. It even has a garage, hammock in the back. You know, it's tiny, but it's there. You know, it's conveniently close to everything, I guess, what they're trying to say here. But at the end of the day, we're looking for an investment property, something that's actually going to make us money. Not just, you know, it doesn't help you to sleep at night to know that the property looks really pretty and that you're not living in it and that it's costing you money instead of making you money. So we don't want that, guys. We want to make money. And that's the point of investing. So with that being said, we want our money to work for us, right? So the 3.2 makes $5,500. And now this changes everything. Okay, this changes everything because he just listed one unit at $5,500. Apparently there's 2 3.2s. So that means that this property is going to make another $5,500 here. Now, that's using his numbers, right? So using his numbers, this property could produce $11,000 a month, right? Now, at that point, it starts paying off your mortgage, which is pretty nice, okay? If you could actually get those rents. And the return there would be a 9.3%. It's still not something that we want, but before we go any further, let's double check these rents. Let's make sure that we could actually get these rents in Miami-Dade, okay? Now, 3.2, the last time that I did a market study, the maximum it could go for is $4,750, okay? And this is for a multifamily in all of Miami-Dade. The maximum I found, this is like waterfront kind of duplexes, you know, they exist. And so I don't see that this property could actually pull 5,500, even if it's brand new, even if it's in a neighborhood that's like really nice, because just for the same amount of money, you could go live somewhere else, right? And pay the same amount, and it'd be probably a single family home where you don't have to share the walls with a neighbor. Okay, so I don't see them really pulling this kind of money in, you know. Yeah, yeah. So, and it's not even in like Coral Gables, right? It's like close to Coral Gables. So, with that being said, guys, I'm gonna put here that the best I think that this property could get. Let's give it the max, 4,750. Let's say you could actually get that. Then the real rents here are $9,500 a month, right? Now the property's obviously not in any sort of distress. This guy just built it. You know, I don't think that he's behind on his taxes. Let's look at the folio number here and see. Nope, not behind. All right, but I don't think that he's going to be willing to take too much off the purchase price either. Let's say he takes off 10% because the returns even now are pretty, you know, crappy. Let's say he takes off 10%, and that's basically taking off 170 grand, right? 180 grand. So if you take off 180 grand, you're left with 618, right? 61. So here we go, 61. And you can see, guys, that the returns still don't really match up, right? The real returns, right, are going to be 8.4%. And that's if you could get the maximum rents in Miami-Dade and you have a realistic price drop, you know, of 180 grand, right? You're going to have to do all that work and you're still only going to make 8.4% return on investment here. So again, it doesn't make sense even with the numbers that they provide. And once doing our little due diligence here, it also doesn't make sense, guys. So for that reason, we're going to go ahead and discard this property too. Okay. This is the last one that's above $400 a price per square foot. And this is a $580,000 triplex, they say. Okay, in Miami-Dade, they're currently paying $9,122 a year. All right, square feet wise, 1,414. It's small, and somehow they fit a triplex in there. And they say that the maximum rents that they're getting are $2,600. Okay, so that's it. Let's look at the quality of the property and see what else we could figure out. So it doesn't look too terrible, guys. This looks, you know, not bad. I mean, it needs some baseboards here, but you know, you could fix that. You need to paint these doors. They haven't, you know, they just bought them from Home Depot and slapped them on, but they need to be painted. All right, let's see. You know, the cabinets don't look terrible. You know, you could definitely put a microwave here, make it look a whole lot better. Put the stainless steel. You could charge more for rent. It has a, you know, has a washer dryer. It's got a flat roof. Not a fan of that. It has box ACs. Not a fan of that either. But this might be a little mother-in-law in the back. All right, that makes it a triplex. Yeah, you could see it's tiny, but you know they made it work somehow. All right, cool. I'm not mad at it. Yeah, nice little compound here. Okay, nice little compound here. All right, let's see how much it makes. I'm excited for this one. All right. Prime investment opportunity, one of Miami's fastest growing neighborhoods, income producing just minutes away from Morningside, Wynwood, Edgewater, Midtown. All right, but let's look. Let's make sure that this is not a single family home. It's actually multifamily, and it is. It's multifamily, so it's legit. It's not like a, you know, one of these things that like they made up. Now, however, it's only really supposed to be two structures here. All right, maybe he divided one of them, but it's a 2-1 and a 1-1. So let's see what's actually cooking here. He says there's a 3-1, a 1-1, and a studio. Now, let's see. A 3-1, guys, right? He says it's vacant, so he didn't put any rents there. And he says that the 1-1 is rented at $1,400. Now, take a look here, because this is interesting. This is in Miami-Dade, right? And he says the 1-1 is rented at $1,400. That's below median. Now, given the quality of what I saw, I think that you could definitely rent out a 1-1 for $1,600 here, right? Especially being in those neighborhoods. So let's see, guys. All right. He's saying that he's getting $1,400. He's getting $2,600. So $580,000 triplex in Miami-Dade, right? He says that he's getting $2,600. And if anybody's just doing quick math here, they're going to think that the best return here is going to be only 4.5%. Again, if they're using the 1% rule, they're going to look at this and say like, hey, this is not even half of a 1%. This wouldn't even, and if they sent this to their mortgage broker, their mortgage broker is going to say like, hey, this doesn't even pay for 70% of your mortgage pass. But there might be some hidden value here, because a 3-bedroom, 1-bath unit on average in Miami-Dade rents for $2,700 alone. And a 1-1, well, a 1-1 could actually rent for $1,600. And a studio, I do believe that you could probably get $1,200 for it, okay? So that means that this property can more than likely make $5,500 a month. It's not like far-fetched to think that this property could make $5,500 a month. They don't seem like they're like in distress, but you could probably still negotiate a bit off the price, right? So if this guy maybe doesn't know the market, or he hasn't really done his homework, right? You can come in here and negotiate, and if you negotiate 5% off of this, right? So not $50,000 or not $60,000, but $30,000. Now you're at $550,000, right? And that's actually, that would make this a 1% property, right? We would hit the famous 1% property. And at this point, it would pay 150% of your mortgage. Okay, guys? I mean, you could buy this FHA and you'd be cash flowing in just 2 years. And God, if the interest rates were to just go down to 5.98 like they were in late February, you would cash flow on day one, guys. So this property is pretty freaking fire. I think that, if you could get these rents, then it's something definitely worth looking at. This is why you got to shop and be on top of properties daily, guys, because things like this come up with just a 30,000 price drop and bring rents up to median markets. Okay, you could get a return on investment here as good as, boom, 24.5%, 24.7%. That's an amazing property. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get rid of this one. Let's keep looking, see if we could find another good deal. All right, this is the twin properties that we were looking at. All right, they want $1 million for these. Okay, they are currently paying in taxes $14,769 per year. Okay, and square feet wise, 2,673 square feet. All right, now they don't tell us how much they're collecting in rents, and they do tell us that it's in flood zone AE, which is not the best. You're going to pay a premium there, a bit of extra premium there. But let's take a look at the properties. Okay, they look pretty solid, turnkey. You come in here, you could rent them right away. I mean, this looks legit. It looks like they were running a legit operation. Look at the signs to like actually use the machines. They're running off of Wi-Fi. Like this is just, it's beautiful. They're really, yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at the description here. Investors' dream fourplex located in the heart of Fort Lauderdale. This income-producing property offers a rent turnkey opportunity for both in-state and out-of-state investors, yada, yada, yada. But they don't tell us anything. Okay, and that makes it a little bit difficult because they're not telling us anything about the makeup of the unit. Is it a 3-2 and a 2-1 and a 1-1? We know it's 4 units, but like, what is it? Okay, so it's 4 units, okay, and they do tell us that it's 4 bathrooms. So let's just assume that, it's 4 1-1s. It could be 4 2-1s, but again, we are not getting any information. Let's see if we could dig a little and find out a little bit more. Okay. So let's look at this listing, see if they put, okay, here we go. Professionally managed fourplex offers a strong unit mix with 2 spacious 2-1s and 2 1-1s. Okay, so thanks to the old real estate agent, we're able to find out the real information about this property. Thank you. And it's 2 2-1s. Okay, so let's give this the median rent for the 2-1 in Broward County, which is $1,960. $1,960 plus another $1,960. And let's do the median as well for the 1-1s, and that's $1,600. $1,600 here and $1,600 there. And that adds up to $7,120. And so like, you don't have to be a mathematician. It's a nice round number. That's going to be a 0.71%, right, of the mortgage that you're collecting in rents every single month. And that turns out to be about 110, almost 110% of the mortgage that you would have if you put a 25% down payment. Now, that being said, how much could we negotiate the price off of this, right? I think that maybe you could even get, I mean, looking at the quality of this, I think that you could get maybe even a little bit more than just the median. But you know what kind of brings it down? The fact that there's a separate washer dryer outside and that you don't have them in the unit. So I'm just going to leave it at the median. I think that that's, even though the unit's really pretty, having to go outside and share your washer and dryer, and on top of that having to pay for it, right? Really brings down like what a tenant would want to pay for in rent. Now you might get a little bit more revenue. You might get a revenue bump here, but how much do you want to think that it's per month? Let's say it's a $200 revenue bump overall. So let's put $1,800 here. I think that that's probably the max that you could get for rents here. So again, $1 million, just 1 mil. This is a fourplex in Broward. All right. I think the rents as is are going to be $73.20. That means that the returns, guys, here, okay, at best is going to be a 9.3% return. Now, again, I think that these are the best rents that we're going to be able to get here. I don't see this guy being in distress. Now, how much do we think that this guy could drop his price? You know, I think that, you know, being realistic, you could probably expect this guy. I mean, the property is pretty turnkey, and a lot of people value that. So this property will have demand, especially from first-time multifamily investors or new investors, right? So I don't think that this guy drops more than 5%. I think that he drops it to like 950. And so that would improve the numbers a little bit, okay? And that would make it just equal basically, and that's dropping 50K. That would just equal the S&P, right? At 10.2% would be your best return, and that would be with a 10% down payment. And that's over the life of the property, right? But either way, I mean, this property wouldn't really cash flow for you here. Even with this, just because like you remember, guys, you got to be putting money aside for repairs, maintenance, vacancies, and capital expenditures. So yeah, not the best. Really pretty property. You know, if you guys want to make the same amount of returns as you would in the S&P, right, and you want to have like the experience of managing a property, then go for it. You know, it's not a bad way to learn. I think it has like the component of the washing machine. It looks like it's already very professionally run. Maybe you're able to increase rents a little bit. Who knows, right? It has some room to play with. So this is a potential property. It's for me, it's just a D. There's way better properties out there. So I'm gonna go ahead and discard this one. And the other one looks like it's basically the same, right? So $1 million, yep. Let's discard this one. It's gonna be the same. And we look at the last property of the day. This one's in a triplex in Broward County, right? And they want $750K for it. And so let's put that up here on the board. 750, and they are collecting in taxes $9,158 a year in tax, or they're paying that amount of money per year in taxes. Square feet, 2,219 square feet. All right, now they don't tell us how much you're collecting in rents. They do tell us in flood zone AE, which is not the best. Let's take a look at the pictures here. All right, so what can you guys see here? It looks like it has pretty good bones, but I mean, the property does look older. Okay, 3 ACs. I was looking for the 3 meters here, but the bathrooms could use remodeling. The inside could definitely use remodeling. It does have, you know, it looks like it has already the ducts for the AC, so maybe you just need to put, you know, or the ACs work, which is nice. You know, central AC is really nice to have. All right. Maybe I'm looking for those electric meters, guys, just to make sure it's a real triplex. All right, I don't see it here, but we will, no problem. We'll look into the guts of the deal. Let's click here. Let's make sure that it's a legit triplex. Come down here. Yeah, it's a legit triplex. Awesome. Let's see what information they give us. So it's 3 2 1s. 3 2 1s, okay? And Pompano Beach. 3 2 1s. Now, what kind of quality apartments are these? Right? I would say that this is below median grade. Okay? So, but it's 3 of them. So a 2-1 in Broward County goes for $1960. The cheapest one that I saw, which was, you know, a hellhole, was going for $1450. This is not, it's definitely not a hellhole, but it's definitely not like really, really nice. So I would say that this is maybe you're getting 1750 here per each. 1750, 1750. If I had to guess, right? That's what I would put this at. And that means that overall you could collect 5250, which isn't all too bad. 5250, right? And in terms of the 1% rule, that makes it a 0.7. That means that the rents represent 0.7% of the purchase price. And again, ideally, we're looking for a 1. We're looking for, the rents to pay 1% of the purchase price per month. But 0.7, you could work with, all right? And that translates into 110% of the mortgage being paid, which is what the bank wants to see, all right, at minimum, all right? And that actually turns out to be 8.9% return on investment, okay, over the life of the property. It's not the best, but it's not terrible here, all right? So with that being said, guys, all right, this property, would it create wealth? Yeah, it could create wealth, okay? It's not terrible. Now, what's the best case scenario? Let's say you could actually bring this up. You could give it a good paint job. You could get some stainless steel appliances. That would bring it up to like the next level. Let's say you could get 1960 per each, 1960 and 1960. Okay, you're up to 5880. All of a sudden, the returns start looking better, 11.7, right? So I think that maybe the best returns that this property could give you without spending a lot of money in fixing it up is 5850. This guy's not in distress. Now, what's a good price that I think that you could drop this price to? That's a good question. I think that it might be somewhere between the 5 and 10%. So it might be like let's say we take 7% off of this. So let's say that this equals 0.97 times this, right? So sorry, 93. So we're taking 7% off the purchase price. So that's 697.50. He was at 750, so that's what, 5250? Yeah, $52.5 thousand off. And that actually makes this property gonna look a little bit better, and that makes that the return here could be as high as 13.3%. You would need to negotiate off 7% off the purchase price, and you would need to make sure you could actually bring these rents up to 1960. If you guys could do that, this property could yield 13.3% returns, and that's enough for me for like a C level, like C tier investment. Okay, again, today we saw a property, the second to last, or the one in the middle, right? The third property we saw could give you returns as good as almost 25%, right? So why would you deal with this, which is like half of that return? And I believe that one was it was also a triplex. Okay, so that's it, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Pretty good properties that we found today. Hopefully tomorrow there are even better ones. Although this last week we've seen some really nice deals. There's definitely product out there. I wouldn't be complaining or saying that there's nothing to find out there. You just need to analyze them. But any case, most people would look at this and not even know where to start or if it could really produce cash. So that being said, let me know if you have any questions. Again, do your due diligence on all of these. This is just like the first level of seeing which ones are worth in what order they're worth going out to and exploring. And I'm giving you guys the first part of the homework, which is usually the hardest. All right, so now you gotta go out there and finish it up. So all right, have a great day, and see you tomorrow.